Hello, this is Àlvar Alonso, and first of all, Happy New Year. It's been a while since I uploaded the last video, so I thought it was about time. And here I want to show you an interesting game I played against Csaba Balogh. Here the yellow is not correctly displayed. I don't know what it's this bug on the chess base, but I don't know, it keeps happening and it's quite annoying, but whatever. It's in the French league, in the National One. Well, in case you don't know, Saba has like 2640, something like that. I don't know. So yeah. So let's jump into the game. D4, D5, C4, C6, knight F3, knight C6, knight F6, knight C3, and here DC4. So we enter into Slav variation. A4, perfectly fine. E6. So here's the first important situation of the game. So here black can play bishop f5 or even bishop g4 if I recall right, and has a quite a solid position. So for example bishop f5, now white can continue with knight e5 and take here and proceed with g3, bishop g2, or can just play the quiet style with take castle, and then after that, white will play queen e2, we'll play e4, we'll gain a space in the center, and it will be quite a slow-paced game. So instead, after playing with e6, what's the idea? Black wants to play c5, so and transpose to a kind of queen's gambit accepted. So it may seem not efficient because black plays c6 already and now has to play c5. But in compensation, black has the square in before, so because white played a4. So it's black has less tempo, but has a good square for the pieces. No? For example, before the knight will hold d5. It's a key point in the position. So here white has two main options. e4 is one of them, and after bishop b4, e5, knight e5, or bishop d2, b5, and take on c3 because otherwise I will lose the pawn. Take, and here knight g5 is the main. And it's kind of messy line, and I didn't want to force things so quickly because there's not much originality in this position because it's quite forced after there has been a lot of games in this position. And the main lines, if I recall, are kind of drawish, and it's already been played in a couple of games, the draw line, so it's no point to follow this line. I mean, you can try to unprepared opponent, but not to I thought it was not good to do that against Csaba because he also tends to play this opening quite often, so there's no point in trying to invest some time into discover something that no one discovered yet in this opening. So I thought it was a better approach to find a simple position to play and to get a comfortable ideas. So here I play e3, c5, and take on c4. So here is another key point. He takes on d4. I mean, you can play knight c6, bishop e8, delay the capture on d4, but I don't think it has a. I mean, it just goes in favor with white because if white castles queen e2, then white will have another extra option playing rook d1 or trying to take with a knight. So I think taking on d4 straightforward gives black an easier path. The main issue here maybe it's that if white retakes with the pawn, after knight c6 there are many lines that white can just play d5 and just change all pieces and play for drawish positions. But okay, you can do that in almost every line, so it's not like it's a big problem. So okay, I think taking on d4 it's interesting, and here I opt to take with the knight. Uh, what's the point? So if I check with pawn, I have a pretty straightforward, as I said, queen's gambit accepted, but with this weakness. And black plans is very easy. So just bishop e7, castle, play knight c6, put the knight on b4, and then after all we can play bishop d6, bishop d7, bishop c6, and I mean it requires quite a lot of stamina to play this position with white in order to keep pressuring and keep the edge on the position, because if black accomplishes all the plan without conceding an edge for white, black is better, even it has better chances, because black has a purpose. It's to just pressure this pawn and gain space using this square. So if white cannot play d5 or cannot threat black's king here with knight e5, let's say queen goes to h3, black has a pleasant position. So it's quite interesting to play this kind of style, because black has a long-term plan, but white has to keep the game warm, as I say, keep the game in tension, keep the activity. So, and it's quite early in the game, so black can prepare really well how to do that without conceding an edge for white. So I thought this was okay. It's not like the great discover, but it's a pretty easy way to play with white, and playing against an experimented opponent in these lines. So I thought it was clever to do that and have avoid the more like a straightforward theory and just play the game. So here a6, I think it's already a mistake. He told me after the game he forgot what his preparation was. So my main point in this position is that a6, queen c7, bishop d6. That seems an appealing plan, because why it seems an appealing plan? For example, a6 defends b5. Okay, queen c7 wins the tempo with the bishop, taking the opportunity to just develop the queen, threatening the bishop, and then bishop d6 combined with queen c7 pressures h2 and gains another tempo, and this is quite useful for black. No, then he will play bishop d7, knight c6, and complete the development without having troubles. So that's the main line I checked at home before playing the game. So after a6, castle seems a right choice. There's an e4 seems quite I don't know how to say, unnecessary. I mean, e5 is not a threat. You may suffer. Well, black will have just, I don't know, bishop c5 for example, complete the development, threaten the center. No, it's not needed to play e4 right now, I think. So a6, the main point of knight d4 is to gain quickly development and pressure the center, no, not just to push the center. So castle, queen c7, and here it's the main line. I checked b3, really important. No point on playing bishop b2, the bishop will be misplaced, and playing bishop b3 will make this bishop quite passive, because after bishop d2 has no future. So b3, I think it's a perfect move, because it synergizes pretty well with the actual position. Defends the bishop, defends e4, lets white play bishop b2 and then rook c1 quickly, and has pressure on the column. So here b3, bishop d7. I think here he noticed that he cannot play knight bishop d6, because he runs into knight b5. And now let's say take bishop h2, king h1. Here only move should be, I don't know, queen e5 and getting another, I don't know, if queen c6, I just take the bishop, and I have a couple of bishops and a better position, because the pawn on h2 is not that meaningful. I can play f3 and avoid all the problems in my king side, but I have I mean, here to say it, if you have a couple of bishops, you're interested in an opening position, and also you're interested in if you have some structural differences with your opponent. And here, having the space and having the initiative, it's much more important this a4 pawn and this h7 pawn. I mean, it's difficult to see any scenario where this pawn is as meaningful as this one. This one defends the knight, allows white to play just bishop h3. At some point, white can just push the pawns, and it seems pretty good for white. So let's say queen e5 here, for example. I don't know. Many moves are appealing here. For example, bishop a3, and black is hanging on a rope. Let's say knight e4. I mean, I'm threatening bishop d6, right? Or knight d6. Let's say knight e4, and after f4, black cannot defend the knight c7, the c7 square, so knight c7 will be a great deal, and black can now castle, and okay, it's obvious that black is not doing fine here. So as black cannot do the bishop d6, now queen c7 seems a bit how to say, not precise, imprecise. So now black changes the plan, just wants to play bishop d7, knight c6 as told, and this bishop can go anywhere, so I thought it was an interesting adjustment from Csaba in order to save the position, to play just bishop d7, try knight c6, rook d8, rook c8, I don't know. And then when the opportunity arises, just play bishop e7, bishop d6, bishop c5, or whatever. But I tend to recommend that to people that if you have doubts which piece you have to develop first, develop the one that has no other choice. I mean, this bishop cannot go anywhere to another square besides d7. So b6, bishop b7 will be quite slow, because after bishop b2, rook c1 will be issues, and this pawn is quite an explosive point of the position, so better get that defended. So bishop d7, it's good. Bishop b2, just plain simple, knight c6, rook c1, and here rook d8 he played quite quickly, and here it was the first, I think it was a mistake for me. And here you can see what's the, how to say, the main reason this defense is quite interesting with black. Here white has to keep pressuring, because if white doesn't play perfect or almost perfect, black will just bishop e7, castle, and that's it, and there's nothing more about it. And black will gain a good position, it will be about equal, and now white's lead in development will be meaningless, and it may cause white some troubles, because this pawn on b3 is not that well anymore. Knight e5 is a threat, this bishop will have to concede the diagonal, so it's a key position. Here I played queen f3. Why queen f3? I mean, look, I said it's a bit dubious, because queen f3 is quite appealing. I mean, you have developed every piece. You have a good knight, the bishops are well disposed to the king when the king castles, and the knights have some threats on b5 or d5. I don't know, maybe the pawn structure is quite strong for black, so it's not nothing serious right now, but white now has to play, has to decide what to do. So here I thought, okay, the column has some X-ray thingy, so you have to be aware that at some point e5 will be a threat. So queen f3 seems appealing in that sense, because I will be away from this column. Another idea is to play some queen h3, just to pressure e6 at some point. For example, I don't know, one idea is at some point queen f3, And if I take on c6, I will play queen h3, and then as the bishop will be here, I will have some kind of a threat here. I don't know, many different ideas. And since black is not castled yet, so let's say queen g3 will be another interesting idea, because now g7 is hanging and something like that. And here I have many tricks. For example, here I have is it here that I have knight b5? No, yes, I think. Yeah, after knight b5, take, even if we take, and here after queen c6, knight c6, just take on g7, and the double threat, it's not avoidable. So black has to be careful, cannot play freely. So let's say if knight h5, just queen h4 should be enough. And if takes here, for example, knight e4, now I will retake. This knight is in trouble. I have, well, as I said, I'm on the lead on the development, so black has to be really careful. Not just easy moves like knight f3 to put it on e5, or just double rooks will be quite a threat for black. So yeah, black has to keep up with development. So bishop e7 is quite weak here. So after bishop e7, I tried to keep playing active, but black has accomplished almost everything. And as you will see, black is more or less fine. So here, what was the plan that made white keep the edge? Here you have to take into account that you have accomplished the first part. That was okay. I think the pawn on d4 with the knight in order to gain development, in order to be quickly to play b3, bishop b2, rook c1. Okay, and that's it. But now you have to shift to another objective, and it's here when a lot of grandmasters shine. A lot of you see people like Carlsen, like I don't know, like top 10 players, you know them. They recognize where to shift, where to pressure another point, and here I missed that opportunity. Here, my main virtue here is that rook on c1 has a lot of pressure here. At some point, this is kind of weak, because if you look at what black have to do right now, is to play bishop e7, to play castle, and then let's see, okay? But in this order, bishop e7, castle, and then let's see. Not doing things right now different. I mean, queen b8 or something like that will make black suffer, because the king is still in the center, so he has to prioritize to get castle as quick as he can. So in order to fight against that, there is this plan. I mean, if you want to stop here and to see if you can find out what to do, but now we always say the plan is bishop d3, bishop d3. It's a really simple idea, but really cool when I saw that after checking the game. After bishop d3, a lot of the problems that arise after completing development were solved. For example, here you have the bishop that it's not that well placed. Does not have a function. You want to place it on f3, for example, but on f3 it's okay with pressure on c6, but then I have to take my queen out of d1, and my knight of c3 is quite in the middle of everything. I mean, I cannot play knight d5, knight d5, knight d4. I just can play knight e2. And I want to take this knight out in order to make this bishop useful, to make this rook useful. So bishop d3 accomplishes everything. Bishop d3, white just want to play knight e4, and after exchanging this knight, just check how the bishops are really well placed here, and white has good pressure on c6, and black will have some problems keeping staying in the game, because the structure will be quite damaged after taking on c6. So after bishop d6, let's say h3. Now bishop d6 is possible because the queen is no longer threatening d6. So h3, castle, knight e4, and here white is just better. Just check, take here, and let's say at some point white is threatening queen h5 and forcing black to play f5 or g6, and just decreasing the weakness on this king side. And just the threat of knight c6, let's say, I don't know, bishop e4, let's say black plays h6. No, just an example. Take, and here queen g4, for example, first, because if you take here, you have to be careful because you can lose the queen. So let's say queen g4 first. But here you can run into f5. So yeah, you have to be careful. Okay, you cannot play any move. So let's say I don't know, queen h5, for example, even that. And then after, I don't know, rook c8 or something like that. My main point is to reach this key structure. Now black has a clear weakness here. White will just play rook c4 or rook c3, Cha2 double, Cha2 pressure c6, and then this bishop is really strong in comparison with this bishop, and black weaknesses are clearly more important than white's ones. So yeah, it's quite pleasant for white. Now it shifts the tendency of the position. Now it's black who has to play carefully, who has to play active enough in order to not get crushed, because the plan is really simple. Just pressure the weak spot, that is c6. So yeah, bishop d3 was quite a nice idea, but okay, I'm not disappointed because I ended up in a crazy game that we'll see. So queen f3, bishop e7. I wanted to make an insight on these opening tricks and ideas, because many people, okay, it's more attractive to get directly on the tactic positions, but to reach that you have to play good before, you have to play well, because if you drop on a strategical flow or something like that, or you miss something that lets you to a passive position, you will not reach this kind of active position. So you have to play well. That's it. So I play knight f3, bishop e7. He played really well. He ignores all those 95 or something like that. Just play bishop e7 castle, and that's it. And here I wanted to play knight e2 because what's my plan? Take on c6, queen h3, and queen d4 and knight d4. As I said, it's a plan to pressure e6, but here it's increased because my knight will go to d4 as well. So okay. He plays queen b8. He delays the castle because now he has completed everything, and he may have some troubles with this column. So yeah, just queen b8, no problem. Because here, for example, if castle, white can play bishop e6, I think, and I just gain a pawn. So it's not that mysterious, this move. So yeah, now I take on c6, queen h3, castle, and queen f and knight f4. Okay, instead of here knight d4 runs into bishop d5, and it's no point to put a piece on the diagonal of the bishop. So yeah, knight f4 does not allow bishop d5, so seems more appealing as well. So black has to do something about it. I'm threatening more or less bishop d3 or something, or bishop a6 ideas as well. So black has to do something because he remains passive. He will have some troubles. So e5, it's quite a good move. He concedes this diagonal, but here it's difficult to see how white will pressure f7 enough. Okay, we'll see later on that it's that it's possible, but here it seems quite a logical move because this bishop is no longer pressuring f6. and this knight has no easy squares, and the queen and h3 seems not that coordinated with the pieces anymore because e6 is not there anymore. So knight h5, the seems pretty obvious. I mean, knight e2 seems quite passive, and after, I don't know, knight e4, let's say, white is quite it's not pleasant for white because rook d2, and okay, black is fine. Knight h5, g6. Here white has some attack options. So let's say after knight a4, that seems the obvious alternative to g6. I had good interesting tricks here. For example, my first idea was to play f3 because I thought that after knight d2, let's say, spoiler alert, queen g3, it's simple enough, and I press in the mate, and then I take on e5, and then I have okay, have at least an extra pawn, but also I have some mate threats with knight f6, queen g5, queen h6. So yeah, black has to be careful with that. But here just bishop d7, as you may have seen, and surprisingly now white queen is trapped on h3, so I have to play like something like g4 or something like that. And here, okay, it's obvious that white hasn't done something right here. I don't know, let's say knight f6 or knight d2 seems good enough. And then another idea was, okay, if he wants to play knight d2, I will have queen g3. So okay, I may remain passive. I mean, if I remain this position and black plays, okay, well, what's black idea? I mean, knight d2, I will play queen g3. So yeah, I thought it was really good for me because I can play f4. It was quite an appealing move because now, okay, after knight d2, queen g3, or well, just take on e5, for instance, and take on g7, and black cannot take on f4. I will just take on g7, and after bishop d7, I can just play, I don't know, f5 or queen f3 with similar results, and white is clearly better. But here, white runs into an, how to say, unexpected problem. Is that black has been coordinating his pieces, and now white has some weaknesses because the second row is quite weak. This e3 pawn, it's not optimal. This knight is reinforced in this position after playing f4, so rook d2 was an amazing move here. And after taking on e5, queen c8, and just an incredibly black takes the initiative here because I have to take on c8, otherwise it will be even worse after queen h3. So take, and here white has a lot of troubles. As you can see now, the knight on h5 is really misplaced suddenly because the queen is not here. And then black is threading some knight g3 ideas because this bishop is so strong in combination with this rook, and then all white pieces lost significance where they are now. So here it's, I think, almost not lost, but worse for sure, because black is just better. Even with an extra pawn, it's clearly, it's easy to see that black has a lot of options here, because just g6 seems almost winning, so white has to have an answer to that. So yeah, after queen c8 was incredible. Okay, here in the game I thought, as my opponent did, that after f4 white is doing really good. But yeah, this rook d2 and queen c8 idea like comes out of nowhere, but black just coordinates all its pieces. So yeah, he played g6. It seems I don't know, an easier way to play now. Let's change the knights. But now white has another tactical threats. Take on f6, take on f6, bishop e3. Now suddenly this bishop's pressure, but through another two diagonals. I love how in this game you have to keep changing the diagonals to be impactful on the game. Rook f8, and here you may have seen it already, but it's obvious that Black's king is not that safe. I mean, you see f4 seems to be threatening a lot of things. Now f5 to open the column, f7 is hardly defendable. This bishop is not defended, g6 is a weak spot. So here everything comes into one move. Bishop f7, check. Now black takes on f7, queen h7. And what's the point here? Here you have to be really careful. Okay, here you have to calculate everything, right? Let's say. But here, when you check this position, you say, okay, check, check, check. Let's say bishop g7. No, it's the first move that came into mind. f4. And after taking on f4, rook f4 seems to be winning, right? White has to, king has to go there, and then I take the bishop, and okay, I win. But here you check a little bit more, and you see this move, and because it's the only one. When you thought the logical moves are not, I mean, I keep saying this to my students. When you have a position that it's unusual, for example, here the dogmas of chess are not quite accomplished. I mean, black has the rooks on the center, has bishops on good diagonals, but has a weak king, has a piece up as well, and has some troubles with coordination with his queen. So here you don't have to think like, okay, the only move is this one, because in usual terms you don't want to sacrifice your queen, so you ignore this move. But here black is regaining the queen and winning because it has a piece up, so you have to be careful with that. And here the main point is that white has bishop b2 first, and after rook g1 just take on f4, and okay, and now white is winning, because after taking you can just take, and there's no problem with rook h8 because you can take on g7. So yeah, you have to be careful with that. And here what really liked me about this position is that, okay, bishop g7, it's almost losing against f4, right? Because black has to take, bishop b2, black has to play rook g1, and after rook f4, it's almost losing because the king is really exposed and the rooks are not quite active. So yeah, black has to play king e6. But here I saw that I have a perpetual check, because after here, and I said, okay, I can just take an f7 and keep seeing if I have another chance with f4 like moves, or I can just draw. So like the original position was nothing. I mean, for example, here if I play rook fd1, black will just take play rook d8, and it will be set. We will set a draw, and that's it. So yeah, bishop f7 is a win-win condition, because or you win or you may draw, but you cannot do another thing here. So yeah, take, check. Just a quick repetition, because it has in the French league we have a control at 40 moves, I think. King a6, f4. Yeah, that's the critical one. So after f4, you have to bear in mind that black doesn't have a lot of moves if you see it, because if you check it properly, because white is running f5, and after f5 you see playing knight d5 is not an option, and taking and then losing the bishop is not an option neither. So we can just discard these rook moves, because they will run into f5. We can discard these rook moves, because they will run into f5 as well, and maybe queen moves as well. So this bishop doesn't seem to go to a good place neither. So let's say bishop b7, f5 seems to be winning as well. So this bishop is discarded as well. So yeah, we have discarded almost 90% of Black's moves in just a couple of seconds. So you see, it's not that difficult for for Black to play. I mean, it might be losing, but the point is that Black just has 2 or 3 options every move, while White has to consider each one of them. So yeah, checking on f4 or bishop e4 was another way to play that. After bishop e4, White will play rook 67. What's the point now? After White is threatening f5 check, just to cover the exit of the king, and then queen f7. It's quite obvious. You can check it. It's very difficult to avoid, and here White is almost winning. So here a similar idea was to take on f4, and if White takes with the pawn, bishop e4, rook c7. Now take on c7, as we said. Okay, White can sacrifice, and then Black can sacrifice, and then rook d2, and suddenly White is okay. Black is threatening mate, right? And here White seems to be winning with rook e1, as my opponent thought so. But here I have a very beautiful idea that came out in the postmortem. Bishop d4 check, and White can play king h1 because this bishop is pinned, and now bishop e3. This amazing move now allows Black to stay in the game, because what's the point? Black cannot take the bishop, and White cannot take the bishop because there is a eighth row, first row mate, and Black is threatening bishop g7. So White just can do check, and look for a draw. It's amazing, this kind of ideas. But here White instead has rook f3, another cool idea. Now seems to be forced that takes bishop d4, check here, and after king d5 seems that maybe it's kind of drawish, right? After rook d1, okay, let's check, and White cannot escape from here, right? So it seems to be a draw, but here White has this brutal move, this bishop e7. What amazes me of this move is that now White is threatening mate in one move with king d6. It's quite a beautiful mate, and Black has a lot of unsolved problems. So here he will be losing because this bishop is hanging. I'm threatening queen d7 as well. The rook is just defended by the bishop that is hanging. So yeah, you can see where I'm pointing at. So yeah, let's say king d6, check, take on d4, and then I'm threatening queen f6, so he has to take, and then I take the rook, and we win. So yeah, White is winning. So yes, bishop e4 is not working, but just imagine in a game just to keep calculating all these lines, it was amazing. So yeah, bishop e4 is not working, but here Black had another amazing idea that was check here. What was it? No, sorry, check here, and here king f6. So king f6, well, as we said, Black doesn't have a lot of plans. So well, the point of king f6 is to put the king here. I'm threatening something like rook e2. My king is safer here than an exposed column. And here there is quite a beautiful line. After f5, Black can play bishop g2, take rook d2, take on h2, take, and then take with the queen, and then rook h8. And incredibly, White is is not winning here because he will lose the rook by the queen for 2 rooks, but the king is really exposed, so white cannot use properly the effectiveness of 2 rooks against queen. So the game will lead to a draw most likely, or even the white might have some troubles because the king is really exposed. So to check in this line, white can see that this bishop is a problem. So here, take an f5 was the critical point here of the analysis, because what's the point of f5? Here the king is really exposed, and let's say after g5, queen g6, king a5, I don't know, queen c6, let's say, the king is about to get mate in every move, and it's quite easy for white to check every move from black, because the rooks are not in a, how to word it properly, are not in a different spot. I mean, what I'm saying is that all rook's moves are quite more or less the same. That doesn't affect the position at all. I mean, rook c8 or rook d8, wherever, rook here or whatever. The rook over the e column has, okay, whatever. My point is that it's quite easy for white to see that black is really in trouble, even without the rook down. But here, if you want to check, here black has the amazing c5, and after bishop c1, queen c8, and okay, the game might go on for a long shot here. But if you are interested in checking this position, these are the best moves. The point is that the black king can go sometimes to d3, and after c5 you negate this bishop effectiveness. So yeah, bishop c1 quickly to go to another diagonals. But queen c8, okay, you can check it if you want, but it's about equal, and it was like my best chance to win this game. That's what's amazed me. I mean, you see the whole game. Take on c6. So okay, let's see. This is more or less draw. Okay, you can argue that this is the best practical chance for white. That's it. After rook c6 and f5, white might have been able to win, and he was quite afraid of this idea. So he took on f4, but I took with the rook. Well, I did check, as I said, I wanted to get to the time control because I need to calculate properly. It was only the 26 moves, so check. Here runs into the same with bishop d7, bishop e2, and here I took with the rook. What's the point here? I want to play rook f1, that's it, and we'll play queen f7 later on. So black has to play queen e5. I mean, there's nothing much else to see here. I think it's the only move. I'm threatening rook f6 and rook f1. So queen here, queen h3, king f7, queen h7 here. Here white has another interesting option, that's rook f6 check. But after queen f6, black has an interesting edge. White has an interesting edge here. Let's say this position. Black is not suffering from the diagonals already, but black is not that bad. But white has an edge, is obvious. He has 2 pawns with the queen against 2 rooks, and this bishop will become really strong. For example, let's say in d4. And black is permanently with weak black square, so I think it's a good chance for me. But here, was it here? Black just takes with the king, and I don't have this queen h6 moves because now queen e3 check, and black just can play king g7. So yeah, it's not a lot of history about that. But this rook f6 idea will come later. So here queen h3, check, check, check. And now rook f6 was the idea. And now if he takes rook f1, and now I'm threatening queen f7 as we said before. But here I saw in the game that after the amazing queen g5 and queen f7, king e5, white has nothing else than do bishop e2, bishop e3 and do a draw, make a draw. It's quite incredible because this queen negates the effect of this queen, and I'm threatening queen g2 check, so there's nothing else to do. So here I see that this leads to nowhere, so check on h3. And here there's arises another option, please rook f1. Okay, just pressure on f6. And here it seems like quite straightforward. Rook e6, queen h7, rook e8, take on g6, king d7, take on f6. And it seems that white should be winning, right? Right? I hope they did. But queen h7 here. Here I have an interesting idea that thought it was winning, but black has an incredible saves. Rook f6, queen g8, king d7, rook d1 seems to be winning because after king c7, queen takes on d8, or rook d6, I will take on d6, and we have a couple of extra pawns. So bishop d5 arises, and it's incredibly strong because white has to be aware of the 8th row mates. So after rook d5, king c6, and I'm losing here. It's incredible. White cannot take the queen on e5 because rook d1 mate. I'm threatening queen e3, and I'm threatening the queen on a8, and white has no checks. Let's say rook d6, I can just take on d6 with the rook, and okay, whatever. And I have two extra rooks for a bishop, and I'm still threatening the mate. So it's incredible here. It's losing position after queen e8, queen e3, and then queen e1. So yeah, this does not work, as everything in this game, but it seems. Queen g6, king d7, rook f6, pretty obvious, queen e3, and here I was like, okay, I might be able to get to the time control and to play for a win. For example, here I thought that queen b3, I have bishop d6, or bishop c5 ideas. My point is to get the bishop to f2 or to g3, and black will have a lot of problems defending from the weak black squares. Even if I lose these 2 pawns, I have good initiative. So I was pretty happy because I'm about to hit the time control, and now black has to think what to do. But here I was like, I don't know, I was like shocked, and I don't know. It was pretty weird. Bishop g2, incredibly. Excuse me. Bishop g2, and now it's a draw. Just take rook g8, rook h1, rook g1 takes, and queen e4. And after rook g2, rook queen e1, queen e4, queen e1. It's quite a dramatic ending to this game. It was quite an intense game from the beginning, and the final position cannot be better, I think, because black's king in the middle, black just has the queen, and it's a draw. I mean, it's quite after all these battles, it seems like the chess is draw from the beginning. It was incredible because if you look at the game closely, I just had 2 chances. Bishop d3 in order to play queen e4, and this rook c6 and f5 idea, and besides that, and nothing else. The rest is about equal. It's a draw at the end because it's everything so forced, and black has only moves like for 5, 6, 7 moves. So it's quite incredible that it ended up in this draw. I mean, I don't know. It's like it's mixed feelings, as I said. you feel that you deserve to win this game, but you feel as well that you did everything you could, almost, because it's about equal the whole game. So yeah, here is nothing else to do, and well, I hope you enjoyed the game. I don't know which schedule we'll follow from now on to upload videos. I don't know, maybe it will be shown like a couple of weeks later. This week I will play the Catalan League already. It starts now on this Saturday, so I may upload weekly videos based. I don't know. It will depend on my intention with the channel. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I will upload them in Spanish, more of them, a lot of them, maybe one or two in English. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this game. It was quite an interesting, quite surprising ending. I mean, I was laughing when I saw Bishop G2 and on the board. I'm like, after all these moves, it's just that it just draw. Okay, so no more to say. I hope you enjoyed the game, this game, and I hope to see you to the next video. Thanks.